3 boys, 2 of whom are 15 years old, while the third is 12 years old, gang essayed and unalived a 9-year-old girl and threw her body into a lift irrigation canal in Muchamari, India. 2 minor boys, age 7, and 8 years old gang essayed a 7-year-old girl in Kowali, India. This 14-year-old boy essayed a 91-year-old woman in Florida, USA. This 10-year-old boy unalived his mother over a VR headset in Wisconsin, USA. 44 high school boys lured middle school girls, and over nearly a year, 5 of those girls were subjected to horrific abuse and essay. The perpetrators, part of a gang known as the Miryang Union, used threats, violence, and illegal recordings to control and silence their victims in Miryang, South Korea. All completely different cases in different parts of the world. So why is that so many people think it's just adult men who are misogynistic? Why is that so many people think it's just adult men who commit atrocious acts of violence against women and girls? When people hear about boys doing evil things like this, people's first reaction is to assume their parents are to blame, that their parents must not have raised them right. And that comment always annoys the hell out of me, because if that's your reasoning, why didn't those boys' sisters also turn out as bad as them? They have the same parents after all. If it's the parents that are the problem, how come you never see girls gang essaying and unaliving boys and men? I'm honestly so tired of this boys are innocent, harmless, perfect little angels BS agenda. Because they're the furthest thing from that, but you don't have to take my word for it. Let's look at some statistics and studies. Police data shows there has been a quadrupling of sexual offenses against children in what officers say is the most authoritative analysis of offending against youngsters. In 2022, a total of 107,000 reports were made to police in England and Wales alleging sexual offenses against children, ranging from essay to the making and sharing of indecent images. The NPCC said 52% of alleged offenders were children. Police received reports of 14,800 essays and sexual assaults against children aged 10 to 17, where the suspect was classed as a child, the overwhelming majority being boys. The studies are blaming this on violent adult content, but the thing is, girls have just as much access to violent adult content as boys do, yet they don't act the same way. If this was just about corn and bad parenting, then girls would be abusing and essaying boys at the same rate, but they aren't. Ian Critchley, the NPCC lead for child protection, said, "This is predominantly a gender-based crime of boys committing offenses against girls. A third of attacks take place within the family, the most common setting for abuse, and 8 out of 10 victims knew their attacker. Offenses involving artificial intelligence were often being reported to the police. These include nudification, where the photo of girls are digitally stripped of clothing to make it appear as if they were naked. The whole plot of adolescence seems a lot more real now, doesn't it? A lot of people saw that movie as propaganda, trying to villainize young boys, meanwhile it's the reality. Recent surveys even show that more boys are right-wing than girls. New working paper, teenage boys and girls in Norway are more ideologically polarized than ever. Using data for 130,000 high schoolers over 34 years, a surge in anti-feminism among boys is driving much of the recent trend. What might explain this? A strong candidate is views about gender equality, which have changed just as dramatically as political orientation in recent years. Boys increasingly believe that gender equality has gone too far. No other political opinion variable measured in the data show the same kind of polarization over time as views about gender equality. If those stats aren't enough for you, here's another one.
Sexual abuse and harassment, what is it like for girls in schools? Over 800 children responded to an Ofsted questionnaire in 2021. Now, the girls within that survey stated that the following harmful sexual behaviours happened a lot or sometimes between people their age. Sexist name-calling, 92%. Rumours about their sexual activity, 81%. Unwanted or inappropriate comments of a sexual nature, 80%. Being sent pictures or videos they did not want to see, 88%. Being put under pressure to provide sexual images of themselves, 80%. Having pictures or videos they sent being shared without their knowledge or consent, 73%. Being photographed or videoed without their knowledge or consent, 59%. Sexual assault of any kind, 79%. Feeling pressured to do sexual things they didn't want to do, 68%. Unwanted touching, 64%. Now, can I just say, the majority of what I've just described are criminal offences. Now, this survey was taken in 2021, and I tell you, I bet my mortgage that very little has changed.
It's because of how boys are socialized and brought up and what patriarchy teaches them. We just have to raise them better and teach them to have empathy towards women and girls. Let me tell you why that reasoning is bullshit. Men and boys already know essaying and abusing women and girls is bad. The reason they do these things isn't because they aren't aware that their actions are bad or violent. They do it because they want to. You can't teach boys to be good people. It's ultimately their choice, and 9 times out of 10, they will choose to be a bad person. You can blame right-wing male influencers like Andrew Tate and Sneeko all you want, but let's not ignore the fact that there are good male role models that boys can follow. There are several, if not millions of them, but young boys go out of their way to only follow and support the insanely misogynistic and homophobic ones. You never see women and girls creating the same type of content these men do, and that's simply because women and girls would never support it. Girls can't be indoctrinated to hate men and boys. It would never work. With the way men and boys are so violently misogynistic, you would think it would be easy to get girls to hate men, but they don't. They love men. Look at Pinterest, for example. An app that has an overwhelming majority of female users, yet rarely ever see hostility against men and boys on that platform. In fact, even accounts that try to call out men and boys on their evil actions are seen as hateful and get immediately banned. It even happened to me. I and several other radical feminist accounts that bring awareness to male violence and misogyny against women on Pinterest were reported and banned because they were seen as hateful. The women and girls on that app practically worship men. I wonder when we'll finally acknowledge that just socialize them better won't work for a large percentage of boys who are actually being exposed to more progressive ideals and are actively choosing to run in the opposite direction. But society is too busy blaming parents, mostly mothers of boys, for supposedly not raising them, right? Spreading lies that single-father households raise better kids than single mothers. Here's a video that debunks that.
Do single-father households produce better outcomes for their kids than single-mother households do? This is something that men say in my comments all the time, and because men often lie, I fully expected this to be false. But there are a couple of studies that seem to suggest that while a 2-parent household is ideal, children from single mothers tend to struggle in particular. Now, why the hell would that be the case? Because as somebody with experience with both moms and dads, it does seem counterintuitive. So I did go searching, and there is a statistic that sticks out to me. 41% of single fathers live with their romantic partner versus only 16% of single mothers who do. You know what that means? Almost half of single father households are not single father households at all. Dad has a live-in girlfriend who's helping him with the kids. So 41% of single father households more closely mimic a 2-parent household, and only 16% of single moms can say the same. There are a bunch of stats showing that women are more willing to date a man who already has kids, whereas men don't want to deal with children that are not theirs. Men are going to want to take credit for that statistic and claim that they're the better parents, but as usual, there are women behind the scenes picking up the slack and making sure that man is okay, whereas women do not get that same support. I also want to make sure that while we're talking about the struggles of single motherhood, that we are placing the blame where it belongs, which is on men who so often abandon their families and leave the mother of their children to suffer. Thank you for listening.
Girls also get blamed for boys being misogynistic because girls often reject boys' romantic advances or don't give them attention. But people with common sense know that that doesn't justify boys being violent, hateful, or becoming incels. Here are some more cases of boys being misogynistic towards women.
I want to rip you limb from limb and discard you like trash.
Have y'all heard of the 16-year-old boy who raped a girl so bad that he blinded her and paralyzed her? His victim was Queena, who was also a high school student at the time. She was dropping off books at the Bloomingdale Regional Public Library, and Morris decided to attack her. Morris dragged Queena around the building, and he violently raped and beat her. Queena is now unable to swallow, to walk, to talk, or function on her own. So what's really odd is that Queena was on the phone and she felt the weird vibes because he was sitting on a bench across from the library. He was staring her down and she was telling her friends like, look, this guy is creepy. I'm ready to just return the books and go back. As she was walking back, her friends heard her screaming on the phone. So one of them made a frantic phone call to 911 and they also rushed to the scene where they saw there was blood trails everywhere. Her phone also was snapped in half and partially under the car.
We finally have updates in the case of 10-year-old Lily Peters. If you've been following, you know the 4th grader was last seen with her cousin, biking home from her aunt's house in Chippewa Falls. It was only a half mile and she'd done it many times before, but when she didn't make it back, her dad reported her missing. We now know that on April 24th, Lily's 14-year-old cousin had already planned to assault and kill her. According to Carson himself, he was riding his hoverboard alongside Lily when he persuaded her to leave the trail and explore the surrounding woods. He says that after she agreed, he punched her to the ground, hit her with a stick, and then strangled her until she was no longer alive. He then assaulted her and fled the area. Now from here, Carson reportedly went back to his mom's, which, to clarify, is Lily's aunt's house where she was last seen. He reportedly took a shower and changed his clothes, and then learned that his cousin had been reported missing. He actually went back to the crime scene to hide her better, but by 9 a.m. a searcher found her body. With Carson's arrest, his family has maintained that he became depressed after his dad went to prison for possessing horribly explicit material. Last month, there was a 3-day hearing where the defense presented their case for Carson to be moved to a juvenile facility instead of being tried as an adult. They called 3 witnesses to the stand, including a professor who testified that Carson, quote, has no history of aggressive behavior, but in adolescence came into a crisis period that led to homicide. May Lily hopefully get the justice she deserves.
2 10-year-old boys abused and unalived a 2-year-old child. This 18-year-old unalived several babies. These 3 boys, all between the ages of 18 to 20, lured and essayed a 16-year-old girl for over 2 hours. When they were finished, one of them threw acid over her. They left her in a coma, in need of plastic surgery and skin grafts. DETCON Alex Newton said it was the biggest rape case Haringey police had dealt with. A lot of the things these boys do to girls, you wouldn't even be able to make into a horror movie because you'd never get it past the board of censors. Even the boys who aren't violent are still capable of causing harm and saying sexist things to their female peers. 14-year-old Mia unalived herself after being severely bullied by boys at her school.
This child was so toxic, he got banned mid-game. What's up, gamers?
Go make me a sandwich. Go make me a sandwich.
Is your mom not home? Why are you asking strangers for food? Did you get abandoned?
Go make me a sandwich, like I said.
I've been hearing that joke since before you were born. You gotta come up with something new.
You're a fat
Who taught you these words?
BBW back shots.
What? Isn't it past your bedtime?
Oh, you're fat, buddy.
Everything.
I have $9,000 in the bank right now.
Give me the routing number.
Huh? I don't know what that is. Go make me a sandwich.
Yeah, do you want some animal crackers to go with it? A cup of milk? Need me to change your diaper too?
Fuck up, a little cracker.
Did you just say the
We
N-word?
have the N-word passed by my friend Cleo.
He did! What the You're whispering it so your parents don't hear.
You're banned.
You're banned.
You're reported. You're
Did he
banned.
leave?
Actually, I do think
Wow,
he got banned.
that's fun. Yeah, it didn't say he left. He was just gone.
He got banned.
A group of 11-year-olds, like literally no older than 11, just asked if I would pop a titty for the boys.
There were 3 incidents in that one run, mainly groups of teenagers shouting things as I ran past. It just really put me off, really made me feel intimidated, and I just couldn't wait to get back from the run actually.
And during a week filming my own experiences, other examples included comments about my body, more heckles from car windows. 2/3 of women say they experience abuse while out running, yet few report incidents to police. And in the winter months, nearly 3/4 of women changed their outdoor activity routines because of safety fears.
Have you all heard of a sexist, misogynistic, disgusting excuse of human being known as Andrew Tate? Well, I promise you, all your middle school and high school boys have they're addicted to his content. Just this week, I had to have 6 convos with families about their sons saying shit like women are inferior to women belong in the kitchen, miss. Not only are they making these misogynistic claims in class, but are literally refusing to do assignments if it's sourced from a woman. I had 3 boys refuse to read an article by a female author because women should only be housewives. But when I say I'm a teacher and here teaching you, the cognitive dissonance kicks in and they start saying, yeah, but teaching is a woman's job. Like I said, you could easily just pin all this evil on Andrew Tate, but there are good male role models these young boys could follow, but they choose to follow him instead. Girls would never act the same way if it were the other way around and would never support a woman talking about men like Andrew Tate talks about women.
Good, and if she's a gold digger, then if she's not good looking and she can't perform what I want to perform, then she's not.
So as some of you already know, I teach in Korea, right? So many of the boys that I teach talk exactly like this. So many of them are actually squandering their education because they're so consumed with degrading both the women that teach them, because most of us are women at this school, are degrading the girls that are their classmates. They're so consumed with asserting how masculine they are, ooh woo, that they'll literally sit there, not learn anything, and then get progressively more and more angry with how educated all the girls around them are becoming. Even though they're Korean, a lot of them watch videos from like Andrew Tate and stuff, but with like Korean subs. I have no faith in the future of these boys. And no faith.
People think this issue is because of incel male podcasters and kids' easy access to the internet. But boys have always been this way towards women and girls.
You see a girl out in the surf and it looks ridiculous to me. I think they should involve themselves in more feminine activities.
There's a lot more I have to say on this topic, but I think I'll end this video here. Thank you if you watched to this point. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and watch out for my other videos and shorts.